Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 4th of October, comes to you from London. And the big moves overnight have been in the dollar and bond prices. Positive statement from the Federal Reserve has pushed those things higher, and we see here the dollar just continuing to move higher up the hill. So dollar strength still the theme in markets, and if we make a new high on this dollar index above, say, 97, we activate this upside target some 17% higher. So the dollar strength really being a feature here. We're not quite through bullish on the long-term chart, but prices are, and the lagging line, if it gets through 97.50, would be as well. The euro against the dollar sinking lower, so that is a key feature that we are just seeing there, and we do have still these very big downside targets hanging over us, and we do have an upside target as well, of course. So quite a mixed picture, but we're seeing this relationship breaking and the euro weakening, dollar strengthening. Against the yen, dollar rose higher, bullish on all three timeframes here now. Sterling teetering below this 130 mark again this morning, so still bearish against the dollar. Dollar strength a factor there, because against the euro we're seeing sterling actually looking stronger against that weaker euro. Against the Swiss franc, sterling looking a little bit stronger here as well, and against the Aussie dollar, sterling strengthening, Aussie dollar weakening. Bitcoin up some 1.5%, so jumped a little bit overnight, but still the outlook for Bitcoin is still pretty bearish, and we'd need to really break these levels that we've seen over the last several months. We need to get back above $8,500 really for Bitcoin to start performing. So the outlook there is still bearish. US markets were up slightly yesterday. The S&P 500 index still looking pretty bullish, as is the NatGas. The Dow also just up 0.2%, probably the best performing of the indices. And the Russell 2000, the broader based index, still bearish below the clouds, so not everything is going up. Looking at the futures this morning, the S&P future down nearly 0.5%, and the Nasdaq E-mini down more than 0.5%, turning bearish there. So looks set that US stocks will open lower. In Europe, the UK is already down over 0.25% this morning. Mid caps around the same and looking pretty bearish. So it's only the blue chips in the UK now that are really rising strongly. Looking at the DAX, we're seeing here that the DAX is still looking a little bit bearish on the short term and down slightly again this morning, and the CAC Quarante off nearly 1/3%. Holding its bullish position, so relatively speaking, still the best looking European market, but struggling to move higher. The Japanese market selling off slightly overnight, and the Hong Kong market sinking lower, looking bearish all the time. We're just starting to see that medium term at the long term chart turning bearish. And we've also seen commentary from JP Morgan this morning saying it's lowering its outlook for Chinese stocks. So that's starting to weigh heavily on the Chinese market. The Shanghai index still looking quite good short term, but we are seeing that long-term picture still hanging over us. And if we break this level of support for Chinese stocks, then that would be quite significant. The Indian market sinking lower overnight, so not looking good there. And the Aussie market climbing up 0.5% on that weaker Aussie dollar. Crude oil this morning up sharply yesterday at $86, so we're pushing towards that $90 mark all the time. We had these targets into the mid-80s, which have been met. We've got a lone target here of $94 on the medium-term chart, some 10% higher, and another one on the short-term chart of 89.83. So it does look like we will go higher. There has been talk this morning of $100 a barrel oil with the Iran situation, but there are no clear upside targets to suggest that at the moment. But we are seeing targets into the high 80s, mid 90s. We'd need another thrust target to produce that $100 mark. Looking at WTI, we're seeing here again up sharply this morning, and we're sitting at $76. So we've got an $80 target here, not yet activated. Another one here for $80.50 that is activated, and 81 activated as well. So it does look like across the board crude oil will go higher. US NatGas looking very strong indeed. We've talked the last few days about this making 9-month highs, and we're seeing here pushing to we've got targets to 331, 332, so it does look like we will go several cents higher yet still. And of course we've got this big target of 375 and $3.47, so there are big targets now to play for NatGas for the first time in a long time. Taking a look at gold, sitting at 11.99 this morning, so just holding that short-term bullish trend, as is silver. The 10-year Treasury yields, the big feature. These are making the highest level now since we've seen since 2011 at 3.2%. The market now pricing in an interest rate rise in December and more beyond. So we are seeing the backdrop of bond yields increasing on that, and we've got targets here of 3.38%. There's one loan target of 3.23, which was given on the 17th of September. That's now looking like being met. We're very close to it, and we've got this 383 target sitting here on the long-term chart. So bond yields going higher just looks like a formality, really. That means bonds falling, and in Europe this morning we're seeing bond prices falling quite significantly, bond yields rising, German bond back to bearish. So the long-term picture for bond yields, for bonds, we're seeing here the German bond just falling bearish below the cloud, suggests that European yields will go up and bond prices will fall. Taking a look at tech stocks, we're seeing Apple is up this morning, and so it was up yesterday. They were up about 1%, still making new all-time high, looking very strong. Amazon also not quite as strong as Apple, but still looking very strong on the charts. Google also holding its bullish position on 3 time frames. Facebook recovering into the 160s, but still looking very bearish. And of course, that 150 level beckons, and so we are seeing targets to 150, 145, and even worse down to the low 100 area. So it's still a bearish looking chart for Facebook. Microsoft pushing above that 115 level still, did touch 116 yesterday, so it's looking very steady indeed. And Tesla was down some 2% yesterday, so still looking bearish across the board there. And if we take a look at US tech stocks, we saw some stocks down as much as 3% yesterday, Liberty Global down 2.5%. So we're seeing here the some of these charts looking pretty bearish. But at the top end of the Nasdaq, we had some quite good performances. Facebook was the fourth best performer. We had strong performance here from Intuit. Intel continuing to rise and looking strong there as well, but has work to do to get back to the bullish one. Intuit there actually looking very steadily rising up the hill as well, so that's quite significant there. Taking a look at FTSE stocks this morning, the best performers, Rightmove up 5%. And we're seeing some quite good performances from the commodities-based stocks. Glencore looking quite good, Everaz. Oil stocks obviously looking higher, Shell looking very good, and so we are seeing that. But if we look at the worst performers, we're seeing BAT, EasyJet still there, so airlines still continuing to fall. Really has fallen away from a high of 1800 to under 1200 now. That's quite significant for EasyJet. And taking a look at some of the other stocks here, we've got Rickett Brencozo down this morning, some 2.6%. Severn Trent. We're seeing a lot of the utilities down in the UK as well, so they're all at the lower end of the performance board this morning. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.